So, the Lions for Super Rugby 2018. A team in transition, having had two runner-up appearances in the last couple of years, 2016, 2017 runners-up. Transition to a new coach. Ackerman has gone over to the UK, and his former assistant, Swister Brain, has taken over the top job. Always a few questions about assistants taking over the number one role. So it'll be an interesting season to see if he can kind of maintain that pretty high level set by his predecessor. So aside from the coach, a few key players have left the team. When Ackerman left, he took his son, Ron, with him. So they'll miss his kind of all-round ability. He was never the fastest, the strongest, or the best, but he was always good. So he will be missed. Van der Merwe, the hooker, has gone over to the Sharks. That kind of leaves them with a little bit less depth in that position. And of course, Faf de Klerk and Jaco van der Walt have both left as well. So not a heck of a lot of big change apart from really the man at the top. And one thing that I like about what the Lions seem to have set up is most of the new guys who have come into the team actually come in from the Golden Lions Currie Cup team. So they're kind of bringing young talent in who've already been in the environment. They're familiar with the systems. I think in the long term, that's the best way to set up. Identify the talent young, get them working the way you want them, and then bring them into the first team to see if they're ready. Should be less worrying about having to reteach stuff that the younger guys already know if you bring someone in from outside. Right, so let's have a quick look at the squad. So the front rankers, Marks, Robbie Coetzee, Fourie, Dreyer, Jonker, Adriaanse, Van Rooyen, Smith, and Satoli. I have forgotten to differentiate my Smiths, so Dylan and Quagga, obviously different Smiths. So the first name that immediately jumps out at you is that of Malcolm Marx. What can you not say about the guy? He is just almost inhuman, but he's not a normal man, is he? He's a beast. He just does things he shouldn't be able to do. It was surprising to see in the end of year tests against the Boks with the All Blacks last year. Marx had a massive game over in South Africa, and the media were kind of like, who is this guy? Not quite that, but still like, wow, what a big game he had. I mean, the guy scored 10 tries in Super Rugby, which is the same as what Rieko Ioane scored, although different number of games played, but still. Rieko Ioane gets all the media love in the world here. And he's a winger who should be scoring lots of tries. Yeah, it was interesting. So, I mean, he's your man. Tackle busts, big hits, even line breaks and offloads. He just seems to be the work. So he is probably one of a couple names which would be the first off your team sheet. A pretty easy pick for Swiss there. Coetzee is a capable backup. Fourie is an interesting one that he's listed as both a prop and a hooker, so I would imagine he's going to get more time at prop, but maybe he's the backup hooker just in case someone else goes down. But Marx is not going to get injured. He's more machine than man, isn't he? Dreyer, he got a bit of criticism in the Rugby Championship last year, but in Super Rugby he was fine, so I can't see any issues with him. Adriaanse's come in. He's over the 30 mark, but that's fine for a prop. But I think he'll probably be a bench player. Satoli and Smith, I wouldn't imagine will get a lot of time. But Van Rooyen, he's a pretty big ball carrying guy, so no problems really in the front row. I can't stop talking about Marks, but yeah, overall the whole front row is one of the best performing ones in Super Rugby. So there's likely not going to be any issues with that. Behind them, so Mostert, Ferreira, Erasmus, Ori, Herbst, Kruger, Whiteley, Creel, Smith, Daimani, Brink, Schoeman, Ingle Brecht, and Masson. So Mostert again is I mean, he doesn't have the same impact or kind of just wow X factor that Malcolm Marx has in the front row, but in the second row, Mostert is definitely your go-to guy. Very good in the line-out, good around the park. Yeah, he's. I think most teams would be happy to have him on their team. He's a very good player. Ferreira is his partner in crime, but from what I read, he is marked with an ankle injury, so I'm not sure how long he's going to be out for. The sooner they can get him into the team, the better, naturally. Erasmus, bit of a bit part, third man choice last season, kind of underwhelming, but in the shadow of two very big, literally, players. So it'll be interesting to see if he's still the man who fills in, or this guy, Ori. To be honest, I haven't seen much of him, but he was the Curry Cup Forward of the Year for 2017, and he does look the business. So if he can get some games, I'll be interested to see if he can do it at this level, because the potential is there. He's one of these guys who could go pretty well, but it kind of remains to be seen where he sits in the pecking order. Herbst. He's another one who's marked as injured. He's only 22 and a product of the Curry Cup system. Kruger, he'll be lock loose forward, probably a squad player. Whiteley, he's just captain inspirational. It was really a pity that he had to sit out the Super Rugby final. Yeah, ever since I've been watching him, even when the Lions were a pretty poor team, he's got an engine that doesn't stop. And he just always looks in control, calm, like getting the guys together and leading. He's a different character from the Waratahs' Michael Hooper, and I mean, I'm only looking at this from a distance. I don't know what's happening on the field. I can't hear what they're saying for the most part. But Whiteley's just got that aura about him, whereas Hooper's kind of the hands on hips, a little bit petulant looking. I mean, it might just be different styles of leadership, and I'm just looking at it from afar. But Whiteley always looks like the guy who's got it. So, yeah, he'll be hoping for a big season, I'm sure. Creel is another one who's out, injured for the start of the season. Massive loss. He was probably one of the star Lucies of the whole comp last season. Led the board with lots of stats. So big loss. The sooner they can get him in, the better, because he was really a key man. Quacka Smith, felt sorry for him in the final last year. Another good player for the Lions. He won't let it. I don't think he'll dwell on it. He's already been recently over here in the sevens in Hamilton for the Blitz box, and he did his thing. So hopefully he can make amends this season and put in some more good performances. Daimani, Brink, Schoeman, I think all these guys are going to be having to compete with the guys above them for spots. From what I've seen or read about Daimani, he's apparently very fast, and he's a black Jew, which is just interesting because there's not many black Jewish rugby players playing Super Rugby. I would imagine he'll be the first if he gets a game. Brink, he was kind of overshadowed by the big names last season. Schoeman, he's 28, he's your journeyman player. He just adds a bit of depth. Ingle Brecht is another Curry Cup player, although he's come not from the Golden Lions team, so he'll be having to work pretty hard to push anyone out of their position. And Mason, 19 years old, Golden Lions player. So a bit of depth in terms of some youth and a few big names off the rank. So very solid looking forwards for the Lions. In the backs, so Cronje, Jansen, Van Buuren, Meyer, Smith, Yankees, Davids and Reynolds. So Cronje was really the the toughest looking of all the scrum halves last season in Super Rugby. He bullied people around, which is not that easy to do if you're a number 9, and he did it pretty well. So I don't think Faf de Klerk's absence will be missed too much, especially if this guy, Jensen van Buuren, if he performs how he looks like he can perform, he will also be very good. He's another product of the Golden Lions Currie Cup team, 1m88, which is pretty big for a number 9, and he's quick. So hoping he can get some games. Maya, I think he'll be probably squad player. Smith, I don't think he got a whole lot of game time last season. So again, I think those two guys will be down the pecking order below Cronje and Jensen van Buuren. Yankees is an interesting one. He doesn't get a whole lot of credit at 10. When I say that, I mean here in New Zealand. I think because some of the media seem to have this idea that to be a good 10, you have to be Beauden Barrett. You have to be super quick and flashy, and that's it. That's what makes a good 10. Able to accelerate through and make line breaks. But that's not all there is to being a 10. He's got to drive the team, and that's what he does. He is the captain who, kind of like a ship's captain, the way he directs the traffic, and puts guys into space and just has to choose the right option. And he's very good at what he does. Give the guy a lot of credit. There's a reason he plays a lot of minutes every week for the Lions and a very good team, because he's a very good player. Davids is one that apparently the coach ranks pretty highly. He's only 24, so still a bit of time for him to kind of improve, although if he is going to get a starting job, it's going to have to be, you'd think, soonish. I think he can also play fullback, so he may get some time there. Same with Reynolds, who is kind of a utility player. So, yeah, I think it's more clear here than some other areas who's going to get the top job. In the mid and outside backs, so Jensen van Rensburg, Mapu, Forster, Mnisi, Combrick, Skorsan, Tambui, Kutsia, Mahuza, and Dianti. Jensen van Rensburg, interestingly, he's been on loan for the South African off-season over in England, so I don't know if that was just to give him a bit of a cash injection, as some of the guys I know like to go to Japan, and the coach was quite concerned about giving these guys a rest. I don't think they're playing many preseason games for partly that reason, because a lot of the guys went to Japan over the break to kind of, I guess it has to be to boost income. So yeah, interesting to see how he comes back, because his loan only ends in February, so I'm not sure how much of the preseason he's been involved in. Mapo, good season last year, has a good dummy, has good strong runs. He is pretty reliable. Forster, in the games that he got to play, was also very good, big ball runner. Mnisi, I think probably squad player. Combrick, very exciting player, maybe a touch, not unusual for wingers, but a touch weak on defence. Not unusual, like I say. Skorsan is a tragedy. I'm really, really disappointed, gutted, frustrated, annoyed that he is out for the whole season with injury. The guy just runs the most beautiful lines, finds the space, manages to go around people. It's just such a pity we're not going to see him all this season. I know these other guys are no slouches, but he will be missed. So, yeah, very disappointed that he's out for the season. I was pretty good. And it was in some innocuous, non-contact training session. So, it's just one of those things that happens in sports, I guess. Tambui, he looked good when he played. He's only 20, but he got a couple of chances last season. Andreas Kutsia, he's a utility guy. He's got the steps. He's got the gas. Mahuza also a very nimble runner. And Dianti is from the Currie Cup team, so I think he also plays in the midfield from time to time. Interesting to see how he goes in his, first season with the Lions. So still a pretty darn looking squad for Swiss the Brain to play with. So yeah, temptation for new coach to change things up, but why would you, given the performances of the last couple of years? I think talks from the camp is that they might be looking to tweak some things, but no like drastic changes, and I think that is wise because yeah, they've been playing really well, so there's not really much need to try and reinvent the wheel. And also I noticed that they've added last year Victor Matfield as a forwards coach, so sometimes for an assistant to step up to the top job there can be that little bit of doubt. The players don't admit it. They've all come out and said they're really happy that he's appointed and he's an eternal appointment, so they know him and all that kind of good stuff. But I feel like there's always that little bit of doubt, is that can you do the job? So having Victor Matfield next to you can only kind of add to that aura, influence, that kind of thing. So I think that's a positive move. One thing for his team is the last 2 years when they've gone to Argentina to play the Jaguares, they've sent not a full-strength team. I'll be curious to see if they do that. It kind of cost them in 2016, not so much in 2017, but I'll be curious to see if Swiss has any different ideas from Ackermann with that. So they're going to have good set piece. They're going to be able to play the flashy rugby as well. But yeah, the key point is they can win ugly, I think. It's all very well and good to be able to throw the passes and do the offloads and all the seven tries in one half kind of thing. But these guys can also grind out a victory. For teams that are just trying to look to spoil, to not play positive rugby, these guys can get down and do that as well. So just looking at how many tries Mark scored, a lot of those were from big, rough, rolling mauls. So they can definitely foot it in that kind of game as well. So that's what good teams can do. Champion teams can adapt to whatever situation and find a way to win. And I think that's what these guys have got. Yeah, injuries are a little worry with some of them that are already injured before the season even starts. And also depth at 10 is concerning. If Yankees were to go down in game 1 with a season-ending injury, it would be disconcerting for the rest of their season. But if these young guys can step up, all well and good. You never know until it happens. But just as a cursory look at the squad, that's one of the areas where you'd probably say there's a bit of lack of depth, lack of experience anyway. In terms of their schedule, they have the 9th hardest schedule, so not too bad, not too easy. They avoid the Chiefs and the Rebels. I think those teams would probably be more happy to have avoided the Lions than the other way around, but the Chiefs would give them a run for their money if they're given the chance. The schedule is an interesting one for them because it starts okay. They got the Sharks at home, the Jaguares at home, the Bulls away, the Blues at home, and the Sunwolves at home. So they don't leave South Africa for those first 5 games. They've only got the one away game to the Bulls. They do start with the Sharks, who seem to be a semi-bogey team for them. They don't put the Sharks away like they do some other sides. And then the trip to Argentina in the 6th round. So yeah, after that big homestint, they may be tempted if they've cleaned up in their first 5 to send something of a B team to Argentina. Hope not, but we'll see if Swiss has the kind of concerns about the travel factor on the long-term performance of the guys. Once they get back from Argentina, they're at home to the Crusaders and the Stormers before they finally get a bye. So these guys are going 8 rounds straight without a bye, which is unfortunate for a team who've already got some guys injured before the start of the season. So that's not ideal. And also they've got a funny thing at the end of the season where they've got, after the June tests, they've got a game and then a bye and then a game and then that's the end of the regular season. So yeah, not quite that even spacing, but I mean, if they've long qualified for the knockout stages, having a bye in the second to last week might be welcome, just to rest some of those big guns before the big games really kick in. So we will see how things pan out. I think expectations-wise with this squad, I mean, expectations are high. They didn't manage to do it when everything looked like they were going to do it last year. Being a transition year, the expectations might be slightly lower, but I still think pretty high. Expectations are they're going to win the South African Conference and they're going to challenge for the title. Anything less will be seen as a big step backwards from the standards that Ackermann has set. If they are pipped to the South African conference winning spot, then I think they will be seen to have a disappointing season. So if they didn't make the knockout stages at all, that would be an absolute disaster. This should be a team who is there or thereabouts. So this will be the team that New Zealand fans will go, they're pretty good. Because New Zealand fans tend to not give credit to some of the non-New Zealand teams. But the Lions, I think, will be the one exception to that. Right, well, we'll see how they go. That's it from me. We'll have a look at another team closer to the kickoff of the competition. All right, I'll see you guys next time.